Hey everybody, Simon Dixon here, and this is the second day of my live broadcast, and today I'm going to be discussing Bitcoin reaching new all-time highs and what happens next. So if you like that, then tune in, and this is one of my short form contents where we go through different topics of the day. So Bitcoin's at all-time high. First off, congratulations to everybody that owns Bitcoin. You are going to be feeling a couple of emotions from here. This is what happens next. So, having been around Bitcoin since 2011, I've seen my $3 Bitcoin, my $30 Bitcoin crash to $3. I've seen my $1,000 Bitcoin crash to $250. I've seen my $20,000 Bitcoin crash to $3,000. And I fully expect one day my $100,000 Bitcoin to crash to $30,000. Now, do not treat that as me forecasting the price is $100,000. I used to work in the financial markets. I was a market maker, and I learned a long time ago that market makers make money playing the emotions of investors. And so here's what happens next. Bitcoin reaches all-time high. You either own Bitcoin or you don't own Bitcoin. If you do own Bitcoin, then it drives you into what I call fiat thinking. Now, my favorite times after being through over a decade of pumps and dumps, cycles, manipulation, I've learned that Bitcoin is just simply on a 12-year bull market with lots of corrections in between. Now, if you talk about bear markets, it's because you are a fiat thinker or a trader. And so you look at corrections and you think to yourself, when is the bear market coming? Now, what does that mean? That means you are a fiat thinker. You are thinking of Bitcoin in terms of its dollar or its pound or its euro or its yen or its Japanese yen value. And so when the price goes up, it drives more people into fiat thinking. Now, I personally enjoy the bear markets more than the bull markets. The bull markets are fun. Everything gets chaotic, everyone's feeling good, but the bear markets are really fun. And the reason for that is because it drives you back into Bitcoin thinking. Fiat thinking is when you start thinking about Bitcoin in terms of what it buys you in fiat value. And the price going up drives you into, oh, should I sell? I could buy this house, I could buy this car, I could buy this thing, or I could pay off my debt, whatever it may be. And that's a perfectly normal emotion. We all experience that. Why? Because we were brought up in a fiat world. And in the fiat world, we start thinking of things in terms of the value it is to us in terms of purchasing power. Now, fiat thinking drives you into short-term thinking. The reason being is because fiat value goes up over time because governments increase the supply and they apply a hidden tax called inflation, something many of you are experiencing right now. They then fudge the inflation figures to make it look like they're it's a natural phenomenon, but it's purely a monetary and debt phenomenon. It's a monetary phenomenon because it's factoring in the increase in the supply of money and also the fact that money is debt and you have to factor in all of the debt and interest repayments into the price of goods. Most people focus on the monetary phenomenon, supply side, but they don't really focus on the interest that has to be factored into all those prices. And so fiat thinking makes you drive to consumption because the value of your money goes down over time, whether you know that consciously or subconsciously, and our decisions are pretty much all psychology driven. 80% of our actions are psychology, 20% of our results are strategy. And most people, they determine their strategy based upon their psychology, and they never consciously take their subconscious into the conscious. Sorry if I'm getting a bit airy-fairy, but this is what I've learned over 20 years of being involved in financial markets, from when I first started economics, working as a market maker, working in investment banking, being involved speaking at the first Bitcoin conference, writing the very first published book in the world to include Bitcoin, and investing in over 100 companies in the industry. And I don't want to brag, but achieving more than I could ever imagine financially as a result of mastering the psychology and strategy game. Deviation. I'm going to deviate again. There was a comment on YouTube. The people said, you could have said all that in 2 minutes rather than 13 minutes. Stop waffling. If you don't like my waffle, then sorry, I can't help it. In fact, I'm going to be going live for over 10 hours starting this week on Wednesday at retirementplanb.com, where I'll be spilling the beans completely for free in a 4-part live masterclass where I'll answer all your questions, and I'm going to waffle like crazy if you like this type of waffle. If you don't like this waffle, then unfortunately it's probably not for you. So I can't get it in 2 minutes. Right, where was I? Back to where I was going. Fiat thinking. So fiat thinking drives you into consumption. The bull market then drives you into thinking, what can I buy with that fiat? And that drives you into trading. Now, 90% of traders lose money at the expense of the 10% that either are investors or the 1% that are insiders that manipulate the short-term emotions of you. Now, when I was a market maker, my job was to manipulate the short-term emotions of you. In the investment bank, we don't call it manipulation, we call it liquidity. We call it providing liquidity. But we used to take the emotions of humans that are then factored in. So, that's what technical analysis is. When you see all these candlestick charts and head and shoulders and support resistance, is psychological triggers where mass humans are going to act in a similar way, or robots are going to act in a similar way based upon the mental triggers. And so you are fighting the high frequency traders that have zero psychology, zero emotion, and just programmatically playing the humans that have all the psychological triggers. And so it will drive you to trading. And when you start trading, you're in the wrong side of the trend, because the traders that make money are the ones that control the markets. And the ones that control the markets are the ones that have the vast amount of wealth that are connected to the right side of the exchanges and all the short-term behavior. This is not unique to Bitcoin. This is financial markets. The more liquid the markets, the harder it is to manipulate, but the manipulation doesn't disappear. It just goes to a higher net worth manipulator. Right, so Bitcoin is at all-time high. You're going to feel, as a fiat thinker, to emotions. Bull markets drive you more into fiat thinking. The emotions you're going to feel is, if you own Bitcoin, you're going to feel your net worth increasing, and you're going to start thinking about protecting because the emotions, rather than the emotion of greed and wanting more, you start moving to protectionism, because fear is a greater motivator than pleasure. Most of us, they would do more in order to protect against losing something than actually to be driven to trying to do something. That's why people don't buy Bitcoin, because the fear of listening to all the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, the objections to buying, makes you scared that you might look like an idiot and you're buying the top. And so you don't buy, and what happens is when Bitcoin goes into full-blown bull market, if you don't have Bitcoin, you have what's known as FOMO, fear of missing out. And so you either end up capitulating and buying the top, and then because you're so fearful about being wrong or what others will think about you, or losing your fiat thinking wealth, you then end up getting the wrong side of a cycle. The market suddenly crashes, you sell, you panic, and then then Bitcoin goes back into its 12-year bull market. So the game of what happened next is a human game. Markets are driven on the short term 100% by the emotions of fear and greed and psychology. The long term is just the fundamentals, and the fundamentals of Bitcoin are sound, stronger than they've ever been. In the early days when I was involved, there was many reasons why Bitcoin would fail. Over time, those go away. So what happens next is we have short-term manipulators taking advantage of the emotions of fear and greed, And if you haven't trained your psychology to start thinking about Bitcoin thinking, you're going to get wrecked. And Bitcoin thinking does the exact opposite. Over time, historically, saving Bitcoin has been very rewarding for personally myself and others. And everyone that's been has a longer term time frame because we're at all-time highs. Bitcoin thinking is about saving rather than consumption, because when the value of something goes up over time, you psychologically start thinking, how do I not spend my Bitcoin? And those that have the right strategy think about Bitcoin accumulation. Bitcoin accumulation is best during bear markets. And so during bear markets, the people that are Bitcoin thinkers are most excited. Now, we have to control our emotions because there's the fiat gremlin on our shoulder saying, oh, fiat value's going down. I used to be able to buy this, or I used to be worth this, and now I'm worth this, or now I could only buy this. But that's the fiat thinking gremlin on one shoulder. The Bitcoin thinking gremlin on the other shoulder is saying, this is the perfect opportunity, or let's call it the Bitcoin thinking angel. This is the perfect thinking. This is the perfect opportunity to accumulate more Bitcoin. The more people are fearful, the more people are selling, the more I get to accumulate. And so that is the psychological game. Now you can do that based upon psychology, as everyone else is. 90% of all the people will be in these emotions. They'll be going into pumps and dumps, altcoins, scams, all sorts of stuff. They'll be doing all sorts of things that come from fiat thinking. This is why you see crazy pumps in meme tokens that have absolutely no value other than the community of fiat thinkers that are all thinking about how to pump it so that they can get more fiat thinking and they can get more fiat. But I'm telling you, that type of thinking means that you get wrecked in what I call the Great Depression of the 2020s. So this time last year, I released a free 4-part video series called The Great Depression of the 2020s, How to Build and Protect Your Wealth. And I took $1 million of my savings and showed you exactly, because people were saying to me, Simon, you were involved in Bitcoin from the early days. You got lucky. Well, I said, well, I'll start again today. And I'm going to be sharing all of the results, all of the updates in a free masterclass. And you can register for that for free. Head over to retirementplanb.com and you will be able to join that live masterclass. Check out those dates, block out 2 to 3 hours, and we're going to be going through everything one needs to know, including knowing when to buy and sell and how to adjust to Bitcoin thinking rather than fiat thinking, how to structure a portfolio, how to get the asset protection structures, and how to think about the tax and all the parts that everyone gets wrong when implementing longer term. And the reason we call it retirement plan is because we're trying to encourage longer term thinking over short term trading, because that is where people get it wrong. And having worked at banktothefuture.com with the over 150,000 investors, some have got wrecked, some have made incredible wealth. We can share the learnings of exactly having been involved. The very first Bitcoin company, the longest standing, Bitcoin company, there were others that have gone, and the first securities business. So we've got a lot of insights, and I'll be sharing those on the free live masterclass. So I'm going to get my ass on that treadmill. I'm going to start my daily workout. It's approximately, where are we? I think we're about 5 in the morning here. If you're enjoying this, I'll be doing this each and every day, as giving you a quick daily update, short form content. And if you think I'm waffling, or you think I'm not waffling, then leave a comment below. Let me know what you think so I know exactly what to cover. But the one thing I can't change, sorry that person, is I cannot help but passionately talk. And if you want everything condensed into 2 minutes, then unfortunately I'm not your guy. So leave a comment below, let me know what you'd like to see, and also let me know what you would like me to cover in the Retirement Plan B live masterclass, and whether you're excited about joining. I will read those comments and I'm excited to do that. So always remember, you are alive at one of the most interesting and exciting times in financial history. Some are going to get really hurt, others are going to do really well. I want you to be on the right side of that change. Peace.